Maybe I became too old and out of fashion to talk as no one listening. However, I will still go on. Maybe you will skip to this. This is for those who will need this most. Have you ever been publicly humiliated, caught off guard by someone's sarcasm, cruelty, or mockery in front of others, left standing there with your dignity bruised and your confidence shaken? Maybe you were laughed at for a simple mistake. Maybe someone exposed something personal about you for the sake of a cheap joke. And maybe you walked away silent, burning with embarrassment, unsure of what to say or how to take back control. But here's the truth no one tells you. You don't need to clap back to earn respect. You don't need to match insult with insult or stoop to their level. The most powerful response isn't rage. It's reinvention. It's rising so quietly, so powerfully, that your growth becomes a haunting reminder of their weakness. In this video, we're not talking about toxic positivity. We're not talking about being polite for the sake of appearances. We're talking about cold, calculated confidence. How to transform humiliation into fuel, how to turn your silence into strength, and how to become someone so respected, so formidable, that your very presence commands the room. These aren't feel-good tactics. They're psychological principles rooted in experience, in self-mastery, and yes, in Stoic wisdom. Because respect isn't asked for, it's earned. Not through words, but through how you move, how you rebuild, and how you rise. Let's begin. 1. Let your results slap them in the face. A public humiliation stings because it hits where you feel most exposed, your image, your pride, your place in the room. And when someone mocks you in front of others, they're not just joking, they're performing. They're building their confidence at the cost of yours. But here's the twist. When you refuse to fight back in that moment and instead choose silence and strategy, you take the power back. Let them laugh, let them gloat, let them think they've won. Then disappear, not in defeat, but into the grind. Go ghost on the noise. Go loud on your own progress. Hit the gym, build your business, sharpen your skills. Invest in your discipline like your pride depends on it, because it does. The point isn't to prove them wrong for their sake. It's to prove to yourself that no one gets to define your worth, but you. And when the dust settles, 6 months later, a year later, they'll see it. Maybe it's your transformation they scroll past online. Maybe it's your name that gets brought up in rooms they can't enter. Maybe they reach out, suddenly respectful, suddenly curious, and in that moment you'll realize something powerful. You didn't win by shouting back. You won by outgrowing the game entirely. You see, insults fade, arguments are forgotten, but results, they echo. So let your transformation become the answer. Let your success haunt their memory louder than any comeback ever could. 2. Publicly ignore them. One of the most devastating moves you can make after being humiliated is not to respond, but to remove, not just from your words, but from your energy, your presence, your acknowledgement. Because when someone disrespects you in front of others, what they're really fishing for is a reaction. They want to see you squirm, explain, defend. But when you respond with nothing, that silence becomes a force more powerful than any insult. The next time they see you, whether it's at a gathering, in the hallway, or on social media, give them the void. No eye contact, no head nod, no passive-aggressive comment, just cold detachment. Let them feel the absence of your attention like a door slamming shut. You don't owe fake peace to people who weaponized your vulnerability. You don't need to laugh off disrespect just to keep things smooth. When you ignore someone publicly, you send a message not only to them, but to everyone watching. You're not important enough to interrupt my peace. And people respect that. They respect the one who doesn't explain, who doesn't grovel, who simply vanishes from reach while elevating in silence. So the next time someone who humiliated you tries to make nice, to act like nothing happened, don't meet them in the middle. Walk right past. Let that chill in the air remind them the door they slammed doesn't open again. 3. Speak once and never again. When someone tries to humiliate you, they often expect a show, shouting, defending, back and forth chaos that puts you on display. But here's the most unsettling thing you can do instead. Say your piece once with calm clarity and never revisit it again. Because when you speak once, confidently and without emotion, it becomes a statement, not an argument. You're not seeking validation. You're not hoping they understand. You're letting them know where you stand, then walking away. Why does this work? Because insecure people thrive on engagement. When you keep arguing, explaining, justifying, you hand them control. But when you speak one sharp truth and move on, you force them to sit with it. No clarification, no follow-up, just the echo of your words haunting the space they tried to dominate. So the next time someone disrespects you publicly, don't bark, don't plead. Look them in the eye, speak your truth once, then go silent. Let the discomfort of your stillness dismantle their ego. Let them scramble for control while you've already moved on. That's not weakness, that's power. 3. Speak once, then vanish from the debate. You don't need a dozen comebacks to defend your pride, just one. One well-placed, clear and confident statement is all it takes. And then, silence. Most people, after being humiliated, rush to explain themselves, to clarify what they meant, to repair their image in the eyes of others. But what they don't realize is that every extra word after that first line is a retreat. It's a signal that you're unsure, that you're trying to win them back. And that's exactly the trap you need to avoid. Imagine this: someone mocks you in front of others, trying to get a laugh at your expense. Everyone's watching. Now is the time they expect your emotional collapse. But instead, you give them a calm, direct line. Something like, "If disrespect is your way of seeking attention, I hope it was worth it." And then, silence. You don't argue, you don't explain. You move on like the conversation is over. Because it is. This unnerves people. Why? Because silence after strength feels final. It's not weakness, it's dominance. You're not begging to be understood. You're not pleading for validation. You've said what needs to be said, and now they're left to sit with it. That discomfort, that echo of your words bouncing in their mind for days. That's power. And more importantly, when you walk away after one strike, you teach people how to approach you. You teach them that you're not someone who dances in circles for the crowd. You don't throw your pride on the floor to be debated or dissected. You state your truth once and let others trip over their reactions. Real respect isn't built through long debates. It's built through unwavering clarity. Say it once, then let silence be your exclamation mark. Shall we move to the next? 4. Use humor as a dagger. There's a weapon sharper than anger, more unsettling than silence, and that's humor used with precision. When someone tries to humiliate you publicly, they expect one of two things. Either you'll shrink in shame, or you'll explode in rage. They're ready for both. What they're not ready for is to be laughed at, politely. Not the kind of joke that invites applause, the kind that slices under the surface and makes everyone wonder, did they just... A calm, surgical jab that exposes the insecurity behind the insult, without breaking a sweat. Imagine being called out in a meeting, mocked for an idea you shared. You don't argue. You just smile and say, "Thanks for reminding me why I don't usually explain smart things too loudly." Then you move on. No fire, no fury, just an ice-cold dismissal dressed in charm. Why does this work? Because humor bypasses defenses. It reaches the audience. The moment the crowd starts laughing with you instead of at you, the power dynamic flips. Suddenly, the person who tried to dominate you is the one looking exposed. And they know it. Humor, when used with restraint, becomes your shield and your blade. It doesn't just deflect the attack, it turns it inside out. It says, "I'm not only unshaken, I'm in control." The Stoics would approve. They knew that emotional control is a mark of strength, and there's no stronger move than staying composed, smiling through humiliation, and delivering one line that turns the entire room on its head. The world doesn't remember who shouted the loudest. It remembers who smiled and made the room fall silent. Shall we go to the next point? 5. Cut off anyone who laughed with them. When someone humiliates you publicly, the wound often isn't caused by the person who took the shot. It's from those who laughed along, those you thought were in your corner, who smiled at your jokes, nodded when you shared, maybe even called you bro or sis. But in that moment, they chose comfort over character. And they didn't laugh because it was funny. They laughed because it was safer than standing beside you. Here's the truth that will sting, but set you free. The people who laugh when you're being disrespected have already made their decision about you. Don't try to win them back. Don't give them a chance to explain. Just go silent and walk away. Cutting them off isn't dramatic, it's discipline. You're telling the world, I don't need to beg for loyalty. I recognize betrayal, even when it's wrapped in nervous laughter. You're not holding a grudge, you're holding a standard. And the shift will be powerful. You'll notice your energy rise, your mind will feel lighter, you'll move differently. Because when you stop sharing space with people who tolerated your humiliation, you stop lowering your vibration to match their comfort. Let them whisper, "Why'd he disappear?" Let them guess why you never replied. Let them notice the seat beside you is now permanently empty. Because those who watched you get disrespected and said nothing, they were part of the problem. And they don't get to sit at your table when your name commands respect. The moment you cut them off, without warning, without closure, you set a new standard. One that says, I don't entertain anyone who enjoys my downfall. On to the next. 6. Make them regret picking on you. When someone humiliates you, they're making a bet that you won't fight back, that you'll shrink, stay quiet, disappear. But your job isn't to react. It's to respond strategically, powerfully, with transformation so undeniable it haunts them. Don't waste time plotting revenge. Use that energy to build, evolve, the kind of evolution they'll never be ready for, the kind where you walk into the room 6 months later looking like everything they said you'd never be. And here's the part they'll never recover from. You didn't need to say a word to make it happen. Turn their insult into your ignition. Let their mockery become your motivation. They saw weakness, give them strength. They laughed at your ambition. Live it out louder than they ever imagined. The best payback isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming someone so far above their level that your existence becomes a mirror to everything they're not. Don't block them, let them watch. Let them scroll past your wins. Let them hear your name in rooms they'll never enter. Let them sit with the fact that their little moment of ego became the catalyst for your rise. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You need fire, discipline, focus. Because when your growth makes them uncomfortable, that's the regret you were aiming for, not revenge, relevance. So build in silence, come back in power. Let your results whisper the truth louder than any comeback ever could. You should have never come for me. 7. Stand on your standards. Humiliation isn't just an insult, it's a test. It's someone pushing to see how far they can go before you push back. And in that moment, everything hinges on your response, not the loud one, the consistent one, the standard you hold when no one's clapping for you and everyone's watching to see if you fold. When someone disrespects you publicly, they're asking a dangerous question. Will you still respect yourself if I don't? And your answer should be immediate, visible, and undeniable. You don't explain your value, you enforce it quietly, without drama, without debate. Standards are not what you say, they're what you walk away from. They're the invisible lines that say, if you cross this, you lose access. Period. And here's the thing. When people know where your lines are, they think twice before testing you. You'll lose people enforcing your standards. That's a guarantee. But what you gain in return is priceless. Clarity, power, and peace. Because nothing says, I respect myself louder than silence toward those who don't. You don't need to scream, threaten, or plead. You just need to show that once someone crosses a line with you, they don't get a second shot. No reconciliation over coffee. No, let's talk about it. Just a closed door and a stronger version of you walking away from the noise. Respect isn't something you earn through obedience. It's something you command through boundaries. And the people who stay, the ones who rise to your level, they're the only ones who ever deserved a seat at your table in the first place. 8. Make them regret picking on you. When someone publicly humiliates you, they're not just cracking a joke. They're taking a calculated shot. They're betting on your silence. They're counting on your insecurity, and they're hoping you'll let it slide. That's where they make their biggest mistake, because you're not going to react. You're going to evolve. The most devastating response to humiliation isn't a sharp comeback. It's a complete transformation. You rise in silence, not to prove a point, but to become the kind of person they never imagined they'd be forced to respect. You let their mockery fuel your progress, and then you let that progress haunt them. You don't warn them, you don't broadcast your glow-up, you don't need to. You move quietly, relentlessly. You take their insult and use it like a chisel, sculpting a sharper, more focused version of yourself. You put in the work not for applause, but so that when they see you again, they won't recognize the version of you that's standing where they thought they left the broken one. And when you win, and you will, don't rub it in. Let the success speak. Let the new level of discipline, clarity, and presence speak. Let the life you build in silence echo louder than anything they said in public. Because when they realize the person they tried to belittle is now the person they can't even reach, that's the kind of regret that doesn't fade. Don't try to teach them a lesson with your voice. Teach them with your life. 9. Stand on your standards. When you've been humiliated, there's a subtle pressure to keep the peace, to pretend it wasn't a big deal, to smile it off, to show that you're above it. But let's be clear, being above it doesn't mean letting people step on you. It means knowing exactly where your line is and making damn sure no one crosses it twice. Because every time someone mocks you publicly and you laugh it off, you send a message. Every time someone crosses the line and you say nothing, you're teaching them that the line doesn't exist. And eventually, they'll stop treating it like a line at all. Standing on your standards doesn't mean you need to shout. It doesn't mean you need to make a dramatic scene. It means you respond with clarity, not emotion. You say, that doesn't fly with me. And if they test you again, you're gone. Not in anger. In principle. See, real self-respect is quiet. It doesn't need a witness. It doesn't need a crowd. It needs consistency. It means you show up for yourself the same way you wish others would. And when someone shows you who they are, you don't hand them another chance to break you. You hand them distance. It's easy to have standards when no one's testing them. The real test is what you do when they are. Will you shrink to keep the peace? Or will you stand so firm that people start adjusting how they treat you, just to stay in your presence? Don't just have standards, enforce them. Let the consequences speak where words no longer matter. And watch how fast the world starts to treat you with the respect you stopped asking for and started demanding without saying a word. 10th, let your silence make the loudest noise. There's something undeniably powerful about a person who doesn't flinch, who doesn't bark back, who doesn't chase explanations or revenge. They just go quiet, not out of defeat, but out of calculation, because they know something most people don't. Silence, when chosen with intention, is not weakness. It's a weapon. When someone publicly humiliates you, what they're banking on is your reaction. They want a scene. They want drama. They want to control the energy in the room. But when you respond with absolute calm, when your face doesn't change, your tone doesn't crack, and your presence doesn't shrink, they lose control completely. Silence, in this context, isn't the absence of words. It's the presence of composure. It's you standing there with your dignity intact while they unravel trying to provoke you. It's you refusing to play their game, making their performance look small and desperate in contrast to your restraint. And the best part, that silence echoes. Long after the moment passes, people remember the way you held yourself. They remember that you didn't need to fight back to win. You didn't need to explain yourself to be understood. You let your calm haunt them longer, louder, and more effectively than any comeback ever could. In a world obsessed with noise, attention, and reaction, your silence is rebellion. It says, I don't move for chaos. I move when I choose. And that kind of control, that's what real respect is built on. So when you're tempted to lash out, to argue, to make your pain heard, pause. Hold your power. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them stew in the silence. Because the strongest echo isn't a scream. It's the absence of one. 11. Create a life they can't touch. After public humiliation, the most transformative move you can make isn't revenge, it's reinvention, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right, to validate your own worth in a way that no insult, no laughter, no shade can touch. That means building a life so rich, so disciplined, so deeply aligned with your values that their opinion becomes irrelevant. You don't chase their respect. You create a reality where it would be ridiculous not to give it. Start with your mind. Educate yourself relentlessly. Read more. Think deeper. Sharpen your perspective until your clarity becomes your armor. Because when you carry wisdom, you stop being easy to mock. Then strengthen your body. Train not for vanity, but for resilience. Discipline in the physical world bleeds into the mental. When you take care of your health, your presence changes. You walk differently. You hold space differently. People sense it and they treat you differently. Next, elevate your craft, whether it's your career, your passion, or your purpose. Level it up. Don't just do enough to get by. Master it. Be so consistent, so sharp, that your name starts to carry weight, that even the people who doubted you can't deny your rise. And most importantly, protect your peace. Keep your circle clean. Stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. Stop engaging with those who disrespect your boundaries. You don't need to clap back when you're moving forward. You don't need to bark when you're building. Because here's the ultimate truth. When your life becomes your response, no words are needed. You wake up fulfilled. You move through the day on purpose. And those who tried to humiliate you, they see it. They feel it. They know they lost access to something great, and that's a pain louder than any insult. So don't shrink, don't explain. Don't prove, just build. Build in silence, build with fire, build a life they can't laugh at because it's too far above them to reach. Conclusion. Respect isn't begged for. It's not won by clever comebacks or dramatic exits. It's earned in silence, through how you carry yourself after the damage is done, after they humiliate you, after they test your pride. That's where real power begins, not in the noise, but in the stillness that follows. The most dangerous person isn't the loudest, it's the one who was publicly mocked and said nothing, but walked away, leveled up, and returned unrecognizable, not to show off, but to show that nothing, not words, not laughter, not betrayal, could break them. Let them laugh, let them watch. You're not here for their approval. You're here to build something greater, something only you can own, your discipline, your evolution, your legacy. That's not ego, that's earned self-respect. So the next time they try to make a joke out of your name, don't flinch. Just keep working, keep rising. And let your presence in the room one day say everything your voice never had to, because the loudest clapback is a life well built.